Previously on Blender to Reality. We brought a digital dessert to life. Literally, we printed a cake slice. After editing our cake into an adorable little guy, it needed to cross over to reality as an art toy. But that wasn't enough. Our little guy needed to find its purpose. Will it find that purpose holding our pens? Find out now. Welcome back everyone, and let's finish up this print and get our cake slice looking delicious. So first what I need to do is take out all these little tiny supports that were left in the pen holes and the fork prong holes, and there was little supports too underneath some of the sprinkles. After that we jump right into sanding, and shout out to my brother for getting me a pen sander. It actually ended up working really well and made sanding a lot easier and sped up the process too. It works especially well in getting small objects like this fork and the eyes, and then getting into the crevices of like the plate and areas where you can't really reach with just the sandpaper in your hand. When I'm sanding my models, I change between regular sanding and then I wet sand and wipe off my model so I can see the progress of how it goes. Always make sure that you're wearing gloves and wearing a mask when working with resin. You don't want to be breathing in any of this dust. Some people don't like the finishing part of 3D printing because of how time consuming it is, but I find it very therapeutic, and I love seeing my model come together and be able to see what it's going to look like and envision what colors I'm going to use when it gets to airbrushing. And I had to makeshift a way and roll up some sandpaper to fit with inside that pen holder to sand out some of those supports that were stuck in there. Now that our cake slice is primed, let's get it to the airbrush. So for the frosting color, I wanted to get an off-white, and then for the cake itself, I was thinking of birthday cake or a vanilla cake. So it's another off-white, more in the yellow vanilla hue. When watching airbrushing tutorials and learning about the airbrush, I have found that people always recommend or make sure your airbrush paints are like a milk consistency, but I don't think people really know what a milk consistency would be just by the look of it. So I just go for like a runny, and I'll put a couple drops on the side of my cup, and if it runs down pretty easily, then I go with it. But it's also just a learning process for me too, so the more I learn, the more I'll share. So now let's untape it, and it's looking beautiful. At this point, I start hand painting each individual sprinkle. And since it's a birthday cake, it needs to be rainbow sprinkles. And this part is very tedious, and it took a long time. So I would work with 3 colors at a time. I would use red and yellow here in the beginning, and then I think I add in a blue. But I'll interchange and do a handful of red sprinkles and then do a handful of yellow sprinkles, and just keep going back and forth until I have each color filled out and it seems like a realistic distribution of sprinkles. I will say this took a really long time to paint each sprinkle on it, but the end result made it so worth it. So some people might be thinking, why did we make a cake slice pen holder as an art toy? There is method to my madness. My idea is that we will be starting with simple shapes and understand the modeling process, the slicing process, and understand our 3D printer a little more too. And it's easier to do all that when your model is a simple shape or a simple character, and that way we learn a lot from these beginning projects before we step into multiple piece art toys and more high detailed pieces as well. And if we start simple, then we won't get overwhelmed later when it comes to our more complex projects, because we'll be able to know what to do when a problem occurs and be able to know how to handle it without freaking out or ruining a print. This cake slice does have the most pieces of a print that I've made so far. So again, it's a good example of learning how to handle a project that is multiple pieces other than just the body and eyes. But now we added in the plate and the fork with this one. And we learned more about booleans and how to cut them. I also learned through this process too that I need to research and learn more about hollowing my objects and maybe not giving it such a thick wall on the inside. That way I can conserve resin and save product. Thank you to all the people that gave me suggestions on how to paint this plate and get the design on it. Someone gave me the idea to put it on the Dremel and have it spin and try to get the perfect circle with just brushing it as it spins. And as soon as I went to go brush it, so after that and trying to get it to work on the Dremel a couple times, I ended up deciding to just hand paint it. So again, thank you everyone for giving me suggestions, but it ended up just being easier to hand paint and use a fine liner brush and just breathe as I'm brushing. And then I go back in with the navy blue to clean up my line. A little more time consuming, but ended up looking beautiful. Now with everything painted, all we need to do is throw a clear coat over everything, and it is done. No soggy bottoms here. And now let's take a look at our masterpiece. I think Paul Hollywood would be proud. Oh, what? This came out so good. I am just so happy with how our first art toy came out. And not just an art toy, but a functional art toy that will also hold our pen for us and our stylus. I love it. So congratulations if you followed along and made your first art toy too. Be sure to post them. I want to see your cake slices if you followed along. Or show me any other art toy that you made using the skills that you learned from Blender to Reality. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to be making more functional art toys in the future. Be sure to like and subscribe down below and hit the bell. That way you don't miss any future Blender to Realities or any future tutorials coming out. I truly appreciate all the support and how much this channel is growing right now. It's just so exciting and fuels me to create even more. So until next time, stay creative, stay safe, and let's bring more creativity into the world. Later. Eat some cake.